Hey everyone, thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Let's go ahead and get the stream underway, and we'll discuss the markets and see if we're headed to 14K here. Let me just do a couple things first, and then we will get started. How's everyone doing? I'm sure many of you guys are watching the markets as well, wanting to know if we're going to make it there to 14K. Sorry, I'm just posting this in a couple different places, and then we'll jump in. All right, what do you guys think? You think we're gonna make it to 14K soon? Be interested to hear your thoughts. Let's see how the chat's doing. Looks like people are joining in. So yeah, I mean, this is why we're here, right? We're here to watch Bitcoin continue to go up over the long run. And as we said before, right? I mean, Bitcoin goes up and Bitcoin goes down, but over the long term, it primarily goes up. And again, this is our focus, and is why we have always contended for the duration of this channel has been alive, that it is too risky not to hold Bitcoin. It's too risky not to hold it, especially in the current environment that we're in the world. Even more so, right? So as we said before, Bitcoin is too risky not to hold, and the reason is because there are a lot of people holding it, and if the trend simply continues, then we're likely going up much higher than 13,000 over the next few years. There's a good chance we're going to go up to six figures, and so if you find yourself not being one of those people that let's say you don't hold Bitcoin, then you're essentially getting left behind to some degree, because a lot of people are taking this opportunity, jumping on the train, and the train's leaving the station. You could argue that the train has already somewhat left the station, given Bitcoin's most recent price movement. But again, I imagine that if you follow this channel, for the most part, most of you do own a sizable stack of Bitcoin. And one of the things we have said all along, and I've said all along, is that I own more Bitcoin than any other cryptocurrency. I always have, I always will, and I currently do as well. And you see the reasoning. When there's altcoin mania, it's hard to see the reasoning, because you get into this rut of, well, why should I hold Bitcoin when these other coins are going up like crazy? It's okay to expand. It's okay to expand into altcoins, right? I mean, I have some altcoins myself, but if you find yourself in a position where a very random specific high risk altcoin is the majority of your portfolio, then you could have situations like today, where in the last couple months, where you're watching Bitcoin go up week after week, and whatever altcoin it is that you're invested in, it maybe did go up significantly when Bitcoin was moving sideways, but now in fact it's probably retraced a decent amount. So there's no harm in learning that lesson the hard way if that has to happen. Just recognize it for the future. And that's why when there are these altcoin bubbles that form, it's always a smart idea to take profits either back into stable coins or back into Bitcoin, because that way you're maintaining that market risk by going back into Bitcoin, and then there's still a great chance that Bitcoin will still slowly trend up over the long term. So it's not to say I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist by any means, not at all. In fact, I talk a ton about Ethereum and Chainlink, Cardano, spoken about Polkadot some, and we've spoken about a few other projects. So I'm not a maximalist for Bitcoin by any means. Be that as it may, I recognize that a lot of altcoins have these cycles with respect to Bitcoin. And in terms of protecting your wealth and continuing to grow it, when you see these major altcoin bubbles, you want to, I want to, not financial advice, I want to dynamically dollar cost average my way out of that market. A great example is Chainlink, right? I mean, I'm super bullish on Chainlink. I think Chainlink will likely see an ROI that's better than Bitcoin this market cycle. However, when it goes through these short-term bubbles against Bitcoin, I still take advantage of it. I still take advantage of it, and then when it comes back down, I just simply buy back in, and you get caught up in the FOMO up here, or some people do, and just think it's going to go up forever. And the thing is even if it did, right? Even if it did go up forever, I wouldn't care because I still had some, and I recognize, what, it's just a well positioned trade to recognize when something's overloaded, and if it had gone up another like 2x or something, I would have had a little bit, I would have had another 1/3 of my portfolio to sell higher. But at the end of the day, you need to take advantage of these and then move it back into coins that are, like Bitcoin when the market is in a certain phase. Okay. So, and again, as we've said, when Bitcoin is testing our trusty 20-week moving average, right? Bitcoin is where you want to be, right? It's just where you want to be, and there's no doubt about it. For the most part, when it's testing the 20-week, Bitcoin is where you want to be. And if you take a step back now and look at the market, and we watch what transpired over the last 2 months, what do you notice happened? Okay, let's just walk through it so you get a better understanding of how the market works. Okay. Now, when Bitcoin is below the 20-week, and this is something we haven't spoken about in a while because it just hasn't happened in a while. When Bitcoin is below the 20-week, when it first breaks below it, it tends to be a really bad idea to own altcoins. Like, extremely bad idea. Because even though Bitcoin is likely to drop significantly, right? We've seen it drop to the 100-week and the 200-week moving averages, right, in prior times of failing to hold that 20-week moving average. We know that Bitcoin is, if we see weekly candle closes below, sorry, just taking a look at the chat. So if we look at weekly candles below, then it tends to dump fairly significantly when it goes below the 20-week. And because of that, when Bitcoin dumps, altcoins dump harder, both with respect to USD and with respect to Bitcoin. And because this is the case, you have to be very careful about holding too many altcoins during this period of time. Okay, so what I do is one thing that I do is during times like the last cycle, the last sub-cycle of altcoins against Bitcoin, we had 2 of them. Okay, so we had this one, and then we had this one, and both of these times were accompanied by amazing growth of altcoins. If you think back to to June and July, and then you think back to August, you probably had a lot of altcoins that did very well during that time period. Some of them peaked in this regime, and some of them peaked in this regime. But at the end of the day, both of these periods of sideways Bitcoin movement was met with basically like the ideal market for altcoins. This was the ideal market for altcoins when Bitcoin was moving sideways significantly above its 20-week moving average. And the reason that's significant is because if it's near the 20-week moving average, then there's that hesitation of altcoins that, well, if it drops below it, then it's the bad news bears in the short term, and these altcoins will likely bleed. But when Bitcoin is above the 20-week moving average and moving sideways in a very bullish regime, this is an altcoin paradise because we recognize that even if Bitcoin were to drop 5%, we're still not even testing the 20-week yet. We're bullish, and even more so up here. We were like 20% above the 20-week moving average, and again, this was a great time for altcoins. Now, how does the strategy shift, right? There's a fundamental shift, and by the way, this is a great strategy for people that don't trade at all. Like, let's say you don't trade at all, you just want to hold, your goal is not to do any swing trades, you don't care, let's say you own Link, you don't even care if you're watching these opportunities pass, because all you care about is the end goal, the end game. That's all you care about is what's going to happen 2 or 3 years from now. That's all you care about. You don't even have the time or the capacity to understand what might be transpiring in the short term. Well, in that situation, what you can do, one potential strategy, it's not financial advice, this is my strategy. If you choose to adopt the strategy, that's on you. Because I'm sure it's not a perfect strategy. You know, there's probably some times where there's something that could have worked slightly better. But my strategy, if I mean I do trade, right? I do trade some. But if you don't trade and all you want to do is reduce your risk in the market just by simply changing which coins you're accumulating that week or that month, one strategy you can do, and by the way, like, I know I'm talking about it now, I've talked about it for the last year, I've talked about it forever. This will remain the same strategy for years to come, most likely. Unless something fundamentally changes in the market, this strategy should likely continue to hold up. Okay? So when Bitcoin tests the 20 week, if you don't sell altcoins, then you're certainly not buying them. I'm certainly not buying them at this part. Because if Bitcoin were to close weekly candles below, then these altcoins would bleed against Bitcoin. So in my opinion, it's generally not worth the risk to be heavily accumulating altcoins during this time period. Now, that does not mean you cannot accumulate any altcoins, right? There's, you know, if there's a new coin that comes onto the market, or if you have a very specific goal and you just don't have time to look at the markets and you want to get that specific coin, there's nothing wrong with that. But in general, if you're putting, say, $500 a week into the market, $500 a month, you know, $100 a week, whatever it is, whatever you're putting into the market, whether it's 10,000 a week, 500 a week, it doesn't matter. If you're doing that type of strategy, when Bitcoin is closing these moving averages near the 20-week moving average, the focus, right, is to focus on Bitcoin during that time period. And it's not, and one of the things I hear, one of the main points that I hear is, sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. Okay, so one of the main points I hear is people say, well, why would I accumulate Bitcoin when the ROI on an altcoin is likely a lot higher? Well, again, you're paying for that potential ROI with risk, and my contention is that when it's testing the 20 week and there's a chance that it could dump, right, then that's a risk I'm not willing to take on. And also, the argument as well, the thesis in a sense, is that when it's testing the 20 week, Bitcoin will outperform altcoins in the short term anyways, most likely. Okay, so because Bitcoin will likely outperform altcoins in the short term anyway, like, the focus again is Bitcoin during that time period, right? The focus is Bitcoin during that time period because it's most likely going to outperform altcoins anyways, and even if it does dump below the 20 week, it would still outperform altcoins. Maybe Bitcoin goes down 20%, but a lot of altcoins might go down 30 or 40%. So even if you don't trade, you can tailor this strategy to reduce your risk in the market by only purchasing, you know, focusing more on Bitcoin during times like these and focusing on altcoins during times like these. And then when Bitcoin does start pumping up, right, Bitcoin is still where you want to be. And I've been saying that for the last several weeks. You know, every week for the last like 3 or 4 weeks, I've been saying on the premium list anyways, you know, Bitcoin is where you want to be. And the only time that changes, right, is when the risk level, if you follow the premium list, right, the risk level, once Bitcoin, the risk gets above 0.5, then it becomes too overheated for me in the short term, and so then I focus my attention elsewhere. Sometimes it's in the cryptocurrency market, sometimes it's in a different market. But at the end of the day, if Bitcoin is, you know, during testing the 20 week and then Bitcoin moving up rapidly, you want to be in Bitcoin. That's generally where you want to be because it leaves the rest of the market behind. The dominance of Bitcoin will go up a lot during these time periods. Altcoins will likely bleed against it. It does not mean altcoins are dead. That narrative has come up 1,000 times. Even since I've been running the YouTube channel, you'll see altcoins are dead, you know, blah, 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 whatever the narrative is. No, it's not that they're dead. It's just that it's repeating the same sub-cycle. It's repeated 1,000 times and will probably repeat another 1,000 times. So what you want to look for, you know, in terms of altcoins, of course, is you want to look for us to start moving sideways, right? I mean, Bitcoin would need to start moving sideways, and so far, it hasn't. And when we talk about moving sideways, we need weekly candles, right? I mean, you know, daily candles are great, but it's not enough. We need weekly candles because if we keep printing weekly candles that continue to push up, altcoins are not going to get that confirmation to start moving up themselves, okay? It's just something you have to consider, and 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 that until that happens, um, altcoins are a very risky play. It doesn't mean you can't play them, doesn't mean you can't take that risk. You just have to be aware that the primary risk against you is that if Bitcoin just continues going up, your altcoin will most likely bleed against Bitcoin, and therefore it probably would have been a better idea just to get Bitcoin in the first place and then convert it to the altcoin later on. Because one of the common questions I got was, in this regime, so let me pivot. One of the things we've spoken about at length is the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, right? And we covered this last year extensively, talking about the yearly strategic move of Bitcoin into Ethereum in December of the year. And we've looked at this, we've looked at it every year. We called it last year and said, you know what, we understand that the trend doesn't necessarily have to continue, but we're going to at least use it to inform our decisions. And if you choose to listen to it, then that's on you. And if you choose not to, then that's on you. You just have to live with it. And as I've showed before, the pattern, right, is first, the pattern is a downtrend in the fourth quarter going into December. Okay, and it's every single year a downtrend of the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio moving into December. So we've seen this every year, and it's probably going to continue happening, right? And we've always seen at least some level of downtrend going into December. I mean, this one really started all the way back here and was bleeding for months going into December. And here was another one. Sorry, I missed this one. So I mean, just like looking at the fourth quarter, and we recognize this last year, and we made a video on this a few weeks ago as well on the channel, and said, okay, if Bitcoin starts moving here, and it starts making a run at these higher levels, and history repeats itself for the sixth time in a row, then the potential buying opportunity of Ethereum against Bitcoin, the key one, would be in December again. And it's not, it's somewhat of a flaky argument, just because it has seen this every December so far does not mean that it'll pump in the first quarter like it has. And to show you what I mean, if you're new to the channel, it's just simply looking at the move from December into the first quarter of the year, and recognizing that, there's always this fear and narrative that altcoins are dead or whatever it is, but they always come back, and they can come back pretty strong. During the bear market, it hasn't come back as strong, right? We can see that. And back over here in 2019, we speculated exactly on this move and said, okay, guys, I made a video saying that the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation was very historically undervalued, and we did see that, that 60% move against Bitcoin. So again, same thing, right? Same thing has happened for the 6th year in a row. Downtrend going into December. Now, we're not quite at December yet, so this has not fully played out yet, and it might not. If in the short term, let me give you a scenario where it might not play out, okay? So it's not something that, definitively has to play out. If Bitcoin starts moving sideways, let's say first it goes up to 14K, and then it comes back down to 13K or 12K, and then just starts moving sideways for a few weeks. Well, then the potential key time could come earlier. It could come earlier. It could also come later. An example of where it could come later is if Bitcoin is just all over the place, and then maybe just continues to just slowly move up week over week. So this would be a situation where it still might not be a timely strategic opportunity. Okay, if Bitcoin does not cool off in the next 6 weeks or so, then it probably will not, the opportunity will not present itself. The opportunity will present itself if Bitcoin cools off over the next, say 6 to 8 weeks. If you see Bitcoin cool off over this next 6 to 8 weeks and start moving sideways, then at that point, sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. Maybe I'm losing. Am I losing the stream? Let me know if you guys can still hear me. Maybe I lost everyone at this point. Can you guys hear me all right, or have I lost everyone? All right, sorry. I just I noticed that I lost like 300 viewers in like 10 seconds. So, um, make sure you guys give the video a thumbs up if you guys like the content. By the way, so again, where were we? The contention again is that the opportunity might not present itself, uh, but it very well could. And if it does, um, yeah, sorry, I don't know why it's going down. Maybe just like refresh the page. Like if you refresh the page or something, maybe it'll start working. I don't know what's going on. Um, all right, if it's out, then uh, if the stream goes out, I'll just go ahead and stop it, and maybe we can continue at a different time, because sometimes just the connection for whatever reason isn't working that well. I don't know why it wouldn't be working. It looks like it's working on my end. Um, it could be an issue somewhere else. On my end, it looks okay, but at the end of the day, if it's not working, then there's no uh, need to continue. All right. Yeah, I mean we can try it again, but if it continues if it goes out again, um, yeah, I don't think it's gonna work, guys. I don't know. You guys are saying it's better, but I don't think it is. It's telling me that you guys are experiencing buffering on your end. So, um, all right. Um, all right, we'll try it. If it goes out, guys, if it goes out one more time, I'll just call it, and we'll resume later. I don't know why it's going slow. Um, all right. So So yeah, I mean, like as we said, if we get a situation where Bitcoin, it moves up, maybe it comes back down, and then it starts going sideways, then that could be a key opportunity for a timely Ethereum buy in December, as we've seen many times with this bleed going into the fourth quarter of the year, right? The fourth quarter of the year tends to not be good historically speaking for the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. We said this last year, we said it again this year, and and yeah, you know what? Maybe it is maybe when a lot of people start rejoining, it's causing it to go out or something. So here we are. I mean, here the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio is if it continues to drop. So imagine a world where it continues to drop like this, maybe or something. It could be a good timely December buy again, right? We've spent the bulk of our time within this trend line in 2020. I contended when we moved into this regime, if you remember, that we will spend a lot of time within this regime. Okay, I think we will spend a lot of time within this regime, just because this is what the new level that has to establish, as a kind of like as a support region. Um, so sorry, I keep getting distracted because it like YouTube keeps telling me that my stream is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. So if you guys are experiencing buffering, um, sorry about that, but I don't really know what to do about it. I've done this setup 1,000 times in the past, and it usually seems to work. So, but we'll keep on going. So we'll see if the conversion of Bitcoin to Ethereum in December plays out again. I do think, as I said, that we will spend a lot of time within this shaded region. Okay? During this market cycle. I think Ethereum will spend a decent amount of time within this region. And until Bitcoin cools down, um, it's like the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio will likely continue to bleed. Okay, it's as simple as that. There's not much else to say about it, right? It's just what it is. So if we go back and look at Bitcoin, it's currently at 13.6. You can see essentially week over week for the last 4 weeks, we've been moving up. We're only about $400 away, a stone throw away from $14,000. So if we reach that, that will be somewhat significant, given the fact that on the monthly time frame, that was the top of the monthly candles that actually eventually took us to 20K at the end of 2017. Okay, so we're almost there in terms of that. So look to this level. Again, as I've said before, a lot of people like to talk about the support resistance regions. And back in 2019 or back in 2018, everyone was saying that 6K would be a resistance, and we just kind of moved through it like it wasn't even there. So theoretically speaking, YouTube and Twitter will tell you that 14K will be resistance, and there's a good chance it could. There's definitely a good chance it could. But you also have to remember that once upon a time, we thought 6K was resistance, and it wasn't. And in fact, it ended up being kind of some support later on. So we'll see what happens, right? I mean, 14K is definitely, an important level, I would say, that we need to get through, just mentally speaking, because that is our global top in terms of candle bodies for Bitcoin's entire existence. We always talk about local tops and local bottoms. We are approaching the global monthly candle body top, and that was approximately, it was just under approximately $14,000. So I mean, we'll see what happens, right? I mean, so far so good. It tends to move up. When you look at monthly candles, it really changes the game in a sense, and you kind of look at things with a much different perspective, and you can kind of see just how different things can be. Let me know if you guys can. Let me know. Just keep letting me know if you guys are able to hear me and whatnot, because YouTube is just giving me all sorts of errors right now, saying that something's going on. So if you can't hear me, I'm sorry, but and also remember, if you guys do like the content, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up if you do like it. So, let me know what questions you guys have. We'll try to jump into any questions. Before we do, I'll just remind you to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. And also, we have a public, I'm not always on the YouTube chat, and it's hard to follow this YouTube chat, but you can always check out the Telegram channel. We have a public Telegram channel with almost 7,000 people. So if you want to check that out, I'll put it in the chat as well. You can check it out. Almost 7,000 people, so a pretty big community, growing quite quickly. And I'll see you guys over there at some point if you do end up joining it. And remember too, if you guys like the content and you want access to the premium content, I don't run any ads on the channel. I don't run any paid promotions or anything like that, but I do have the premium list. You can check it out at intothecryptoverse.com, and you get access to the weekly reports, the weekly videos, the risk dashboard, and the Telegram alerts channel, and a few other things. So check it out. You can also pay with crypto if you want a discount. So with that said, let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin. Let's just do a quick rundown. Bitcoin's at 13.6, Link's at 12. Until Bitcoin cools down, Link probably isn't going to do anything too fantastic, to be completely honest. I mean, it could slowly move up, it could slowly move down, but it's probably not going to go parabolic or anything until Bitcoin cools down. And then, I think that basically covers, what I just kind of want to get out there. Now, with that said, feel free to ask questions. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll try to get to as many questions as I can. If I don't answer your question, it does not mean I'm ignoring it. It just means that there's so many questions. So if you ask a question and I haven't answered it within a couple minutes, you can feel free to re-ask it. I will say though, if your question is on can you analyze some random altcoin, I'm probably not going to answer those because I get those all the time. Okay, so don't ask me about random altcoins right now. We're just talking about the major ones that I follow. And then if you have any questions about that, then I'll be happy to answer. But one of the reasons I don't talk about a lot of these different altcoins, it's not because I think they're not worth talking about. It's just that I haven't analyzed them enough to really have an opinion that I think would be worth sharing. And, you know, I'm smart enough to know that I don't know a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things in the world I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know every little thing about every little altcoin. And so, with that said, I'm not going to come to you with a made up opinion about something just to sound like I know about it. So we focus primarily on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, and ADA. I also want to talk about Polkadot, and we talked about it before, but we don't have a ton of information on it yet in terms of data. I also occasionally talk about Litecoin and XRP. However, I contend that these two coins are mainly coins that you would want to wait until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high to even consider purchasing. And then we also talk about Monero. And then from time to time, there's a few other coins we'll cover. Those are the main ones. It doesn't mean I won't ever cover another coin, but those are the main ones we cover. So with that said, I'll take a look at the chat and try to start going through some of the questions. Lester says, would you consider running ads? I don't really want to run ads, to be completely honest. The reason is because a lot of the ads on YouTube end up being those scam ads, and I don't want my channel associated with that. And so I can't bring myself to turn ads on. I could very easily turn them on. It literally is just a click of a button. When you upload the YouTube video, you just say like ads on, ads off. I've never turned them on, and I have no intentions of doing so. And part of the reason too, as I said, it's the fact that I don't know what's going to be advertised. Like if someone clicks on my video, I have no control over what ad they're going to see and whether it's even a legitimate project or not. And also, I view YouTube, at least I used to, a fair amount myself. And I got personally annoyed with having to watch all the ads at the beginning of the video and then at the middle of the video, and then having the little boxes pop up that you have to X off of. Yeah, I just got kind of annoyed by watching them. So I told myself that if I ever did a YouTube channel and it got popular, I would not turn ads on. And I'm trying to stick to that. So I have no intentions of turning them on, but thanks for the question. Um, Yeah, I know a lot of people are going off on XRP. Look, it's nothing against XRP. It's just the data suggests, as I've said before, that it tends to bleed against Bitcoin until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. I'm not going to talk to you about the merits of the coin. I'm not going to talk because obviously there's some concerns. It's obviously not cool to like XRP in terms of the vast majority of the cryptocurrency community. With that said, I know a lot of you hold XRP because I get messages from tons of you all the time asking me, oh, I have this bag of XRP, what should I do? You just don't want to admit you own it. Again, I've said, I don't know, for the last year and a half or so, XRP is a terrible coin to hold before Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high because it will likely bleed against Bitcoin. And we've seen it time and time again. It sometimes goes up, but in terms of the macro scale, the trend is down. And I don't think that trend will change until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. And every time it pumps a little bit, the XRP army comes out and says, I told you, right? I told you. And my response is, congratulations, right? I mean, from the top against Bitcoin, right now, you're still 93% down. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to discuss, whether it's, in terms of the actual fundamentals of the coin, but from a data perspective, right? From a data perspective, this does not happen until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. And if you look, right, what happened in March of 2017? What happened at this point? Let's just go look. As we've shown many times, let's look at the BLX. March of 2017 is when Bitcoin broke the prior all-time high. When Bitcoin broke the prior all-time high, that is when XRP went on this this mission that I was on. It wasn't a moment before. So as I said before, XRP is more than likely to continue to bleed against Bitcoin. So if the XRP army's in the chat and don't like that I'm saying this about XRP, just don't hate me, hate the data, right? If you have a problem with it, take it out with the data, because the data suggests that it's going down in the short term against Bitcoin, or at least until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. Until then, there's nothing really to discuss with it. That's my opinion, and I understand other people have different opinions, but until that changes, there's not a whole lot to discuss. Okay? So I know we're going to get a lot of questions on XRP. Now, if they ask it, I'll tell you to rewind back in the video, and you can see why I think XRP is a terrible idea in general to get it until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. It's not financial advice. If you want to go get it now, you're more than welcome to do so if it fits your risk reward goals. But for me, when I look at the trend and say, you know what, during the last cycle, it sometimes pumps up, but the trend is down until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. By the way, to go ahead and answer all the Litecoin enthusiasts, same thing. It's the same thing. Okay. And again, I know, I get it. You're gonna say, well, it's gonna pump in the short term, therefore, don't you wish you owned it? The answer is no. Why is the answer no? Because the macro trend is down until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. Again, when did Litecoin pump against Bitcoin? It pumped majorly in March of 2017. Okay, that was the major pump against Bitcoin. And the other major pump, by the way, was here at the halving, near a lead up into the Litecoin halving. And so we saw the same thing this cycle, and we identified it. There was a pump going into the halving, but the trend over the macro scale is down until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. And you can see where we are. It's currently at 0.0042. Yes, there's been a slight pump, slight pumps over the last few weeks, but same thing applies. The data suggests that the trend of Litecoin against Bitcoin will be down until Bitcoin gets to the prior all-time high. And until we see, that final capitulation, right, then it's not even something it's not even something worth discussing, because I think the risk is just too high on it until that time. So that should cover any XRP questions. That should cover any Litecoin questions. If you don't agree with it, I'm sorry. Take it up with the data, and you can argue with that. Let's go back and look at Bitcoin, still at 13.6. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I don't know if the price is going to move while we're on stream, but we'll see where it continues to go. Wicked asked me, what do you think about Chainlink right now? Bearish or not? I just published a video on Chainlink. I just published 2 videos on Chainlink, actually, so I would encourage you to go check those out. In the video, we discussed, and I'll go through it in about 2 minutes here in case you didn't see it. Okay, the general idea is that this is the Link Bitcoin trend over the last 2.5 years. If we extend it out to 2024 and extend the Link Bitcoin valuation out a couple orders of magnitude more, we recognize there's a general uptrend channel. We can look at the key times where it broke through 10 to the minus 4 and 10 to the minus 3, and anticipating a break through 10 to the minus 2. Looking at the time it took it to break it the first time, for the last 2 orders of magnitude, it took approximately 2.5 years. If we extend that out another 2.5 years, it would put us breaking it in 2023. If we look at the general uptrend with respect to this, it might indicate we might get to this level sooner. But one of the downsides is that you could easily draw the trend line in a different way to tell a different story. And in this situation, it would put us potentially getting there in 2023 at a valuation of 0.01. We could get there sooner. We could get there as early as maybe early 2022. But conservatively speaking, I would say by 2023. Why is this important? Well, it's important because if Bitcoin stays on the trend that it's always been on and continues to go up, then the Link Bitcoin valuation is very important. And we recognize that we will likely see these cycles linked in. I understand that a lot of people don't agree with that, especially now with the recent price action of Bitcoin. And I've contended all along, if we see a sustainable 20K in the next 2 or 3 months, then I'll concede that the four-year cycle could theoretically be true. But until that happens, this could still be nothing more than a short-term bubble. So until that happens, I'd say we should just take a step back and not get too excited until we actually see, can it get to 20K and can it sustain it. Once that happens, the ball game changes. Until that time, we're playing in the sandbox. We can play in the sandbox all we want. You can figure out a strategy that works for you, whether swing trading works for you, whether just holding works for you, whether not trading at all but just buying coins based on what Bitcoin is doing works for you, right? You figure out what strategy works for you when we're playing in the sandbox, because one day, in not the too distant future, again, as I've said before, shout out to Allen Iverson, it will no longer be practice. Right now it's practice. We have not gotten to the game yet. If I'm selling amounts of Bitcoin, it's token amounts of it, right? Very small amounts considering my entire portfolio, because I recognize the true upside potential of Bitcoin over the next several years. And if Bitcoin is going where I think it's going, then as I've said before, it is too risky not to hold Bitcoin. But I do think that Link has a higher potential ROI than Bitcoin this market cycle. And if we look at the Link Bitcoin valuation and say, you know what, if it reaches a valuation of 0.01 by 2023, and let's suppose that Bitcoin gets to approximately $100,000 to $140,000, which is derived from the idea that it might be overvalued between 200 to 300% in reference to the percent difference between the regression line and the price, then it might put Bitcoin at 100 to 140K. And if it is between 100 to 140K and the Link Bitcoin valuation reaches 0.01, then this could theoretically put Link at a valuation of $1,000. And I've said before, I understand that calling for 100x from here is somewhat ridiculous. Remember, Ethereum went from less than $1 to $1,400, so it is theoretically possible. I will concede, however, that we will likely see diminished ROI this cycle, so it's going to be harder for Link to get to $1,000, I think, than it was for Ethereum to get to $1,400. And also, it depends on the market cap, right? Not just the price. But I think it'll be harder for Link to get to 1,000 than it was for Ethereum to get to 1,400. So if this trend holds, which there's a good chance it won't, I mean, this is exponential growth because this is a linear move, but on a logarithmic scale, which therefore is exponential growth of Link against Bitcoin during a bear market, during an accumulation phase, and at least starting in a bull market. If it continues and gets to this valuation and Bitcoin is around 100K plus or minus a few K, what's a few K among friends, then it could theoretically put Link at a valuation of around $1,000. But again, there's a good chance this does not hold and levels off, and then the Link Bitcoin valuation could be much lower. For instance, if we look back at this and recognize that the majority of the growth happened early on and then it starts to level off, it would be a logarithmic regression equation. You might say, well, how can it be logarithmic regression? It's already on a logarithmic scale. Well, you just raise, you put a 10 and you raise the regression equation, so 10 to that regression equation. That's all you do. So if it does and it starts to level off, it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad for Link. It means that it probably won't make it to $1,000 this market cycle, but it's theoretically possible it could still make it to a couple $100 if it were to level off and just kind of track Bitcoin very, very, very slightly. So that's my opinion on TrainLink. And as I said in the video, this is if the trend holds. If it doesn't hold, then yeah, I can't tell you where it's going to go. But this is just simply if the trend holds. So I hope that answered the question about Link. So we've covered Link now. And again, as I said, guys, I'm not saying Link is going to go to $1,000. The point of the video that I put out was to say, is it even possible, right? Because every Link Marine out there will tell you, $1,000 in a year. Obviously, you don't specify which year, but the point is to say, okay, is it even possible? We looked at the data. We said, if the trend continues and Bitcoin goes to 100K, then yes, it is theoretically possible. Does this mean it'll happen? No, because the trend could easily change over the next 2.5 years. This is just, is it theoretically possible? And it is, because we say, okay, let's just extend the trend another 2.5 years, and therefore it puts us at $1,000 Link if Bitcoin gets to 100K, and the Link Bitcoin valuation continues to go up at the same rate. This is not my opinion. This is what the data says. I think it's going to be very hard for Link to get to $1,000. I could see a few $100s for sure, but again, we're just going to follow the data, and at the time, we'll go where the data takes us. And right now, we're purely speculating, nothing more. Yeah, I think Polkadot is a decent coin to look at. There's just not a whole lot of data, so it's hard to really say too much. You guys are ridiculous saying that. Okay, I said $1,000 link. No, I did not say $1,000 link. I said that if the trend holds, and which is a big if, it very well could not hold. Then theoretically speaking, it could be at $1,000 link, and that's because you look at the last 2 years and you recognize that link moved up 2 orders of magnitude against Bitcoin, um, and or in at least 1 order of magnitude from high to high, and so we recognize that if it happens again, and Bitcoin goes up 10x as well, then that's 100x, and then it puts it at $1,000. But yeah, I mean, the market cap would be absurd. Again, back in 2015, the market cap calculating out for Ethereum to be at $1,400 sounded absurd, or $1,000 sounded absurd, and it still made it there. Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to look at all the. Oh yeah, so ADA. So everyone wants to hear about ADA. Um, yeah, ADA is one is it's as I said it's my primary hedge against Ethereum. I think Polkadot is also a decent one to investigate. As I said, I think Polkadot will have a key role to play this cycle. But again, Ethereum or ADA is a nice hedge against Ethereum on the idea that, well, what if there are some issues with the transition? There very well might not be, and there's a chance that there's room for both this market cycle to do well. I do own a lot more Ethereum than ADA, so I don't want to give anyone the impression that I'm bulking up on ADA compared to Ethereum. No, it's quite the opposite. I own a lot more Ethereum than ADA. ADA is nothing more than a hedge against Ethereum, and we've talked about this before. If we look at the ADA Bitcoin chart, now that we've had this chart before, you can see where we are. And we followed this move back over here. We said, okay, heavy accumulation phase for ADA. I took some profits, not a lot, right? It was not a lot. I took some profits. I think it was around this region. I can't remember exactly. I know it was not at the top. I know it was not at the top. I'm not going to pretend to say it was because I know it wasn't. Um, but it was only a small position. And actually, I moved it into Ethereum at the time, and then Ethereum shot up like 70%. So that worked out really well. But yeah, I mean, now ADA, as you can see, it's trending down against Bitcoin, at least in the short term. We'll see if this holds. But as I said, if Bitcoin keeps going up, it's not good for altcoins. So the best thing for ADA right now is if someone gives Bitcoin the memo that it needs to slow down and to move sideways. Because until we see weekly candles going sideways, then this will likely continue to bleed, or at least not go up. I mean, maybe it'll oscillate in this regime. Like if Bitcoin cools off for a few days, maybe it will come back up. But if Bitcoin keeps going up week over week, like this is not going to be good for ADA. So in terms of the ADA Bitcoin valuation, we need Bitcoin to cool down, right? And we've talked about the four main coins I follow, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, and ADA. Um, Bitcoin is great because it's the market mover. Ethereum is great because it's a great hedge against, or not even a great hedge. It just has a great risk adjusted return in terms of Bitcoin. It looks to be one market cycle behind Bitcoin in terms of its volatility, and so therefore I think Ethereum. And by the way, most people are building on Ethereum. Like let's just be honest, most people are building on Ethereum. And then Link because it's a great one to add to the portfolio in terms of increasing your Sharpe ratio or your risk adjusted returns. Its negative volatility is offset by Bitcoin's positive and vice versa. And then ADA as a hedge to Ethereum. And then the other coin I've spoken about as well, and I've said it before, is Polkadot, right? We made a video on this a few months ago. Polkadot is another one that I think is worth considering. On this channel, I don't like to talk about a lot of coins. I think it's much better to focus on a few rather than to throw money at like 1,000 different coins. There are some crypto YouTubers, and I've heard them say it. They'll tell you to throw money at altcoins and then research them later. This is absolutely terrible advice. You should do your research first, figure out which coins you want to follow the market cycle, and then just stick with those. Don't FOMO into coins. Pick the coins. Wait for the pump to come to you. Don't chase the pump. Okay? It's the same thing with Bitcoin, right? I talked about this is the primary focus at the 20-week, and then you wait for the pump to come to you. You don't come in up here at the top of the pump, or maybe it's the middle if it keeps going up, right? But you get the coin that makes the most sense at the time. And right now, or at least a few weeks ago, for a couple months, Bitcoin was the primary coin. And again, this was published on the premium list. Like, I literally said this like every single day for 2 months, that I was focusing on Bitcoin during this time period, right? During this time period, I was focusing on Bitcoin, also picking up a little bit of Ethereum, and one other altcoin, but I was primarily focusing on Bitcoin during that time period. And now Bitcoin is starting to go somewhat parabolic here. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So I hope that answers the question about ADA. I think it still has a lot of potential upside, right? But I do like to measure things against their valuation against Bitcoin, and generally speaking, until Bitcoin cools down, the ADA Bitcoin valuation is not going to look pretty, and that's just a simple fact. Okay, it's not going to look pretty until the ADA Bitcoin, or the Bitcoin valuation cools down some. Okay, so I hope that answers the question. Yeah, I do. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, because it has a better risk-adjusted return than Bitcoin. So Bitcoin than Ethereum, Link, ADA, Polkadot, Bella. You might say, well, there's Polkadot, right? No, it's just a period after Bella. And I've said this before. Bella with a period behind it. It covers all 5 coins. So yeah, and one of the reasons why I like to, I put in Polkadot a couple months ago when it first came out. I made a video saying, okay, this one will have a role to play this market cycle. It's generally, like, I find each cycle there tends to be a coin or two or 1,000 that come out. They time their entry into the market perfectly. Like they purposely come into the market at a time where it's a really great time to come into the market. Okay, last cycle, that was Ethereum, and Ethereum came out at the end of 2015, and it went up like 1,000x. $1,000 investment into Ethereum in October or November of 2015 would have resulted in like $1.5 million in January of 2018. $1,000 investment. A $10,000 investment would have resulted in over $10 million. Okay? And I've said before, there's always, every cycle, it seems like there's projects that come out around the time when Bitcoin enters that bull market territory. And it's I'm not saying Polkadot did this on purpose, but there's this generally happens. I mean, just because there's coins coming out every single day, some of them are naturally going to come out at a very key time in the cycle, and I find that these new coins can be very attractive in terms of their potential returns, because they're completely new to the market. It's not like Polkadot has gone through any bubble or anything. We really have no idea where it can go. The market cap of Polkadot is like 1/10 of what Ethereum's is. And so I think there's a lot of potential upside there, and is the reason why I've said all along that it's the 5th coin, right? Bella, period. Polkadot. Those are the main 5. I'll follow. The only reason I haven't put out as many videos on Polkadot as the others is just because there's not a whole lot of data. I mean, let's pull it up. Let's first pull up USD, and then we'll pull it up against Bitcoin. So again, here you can see the trend, and as I've said, there's really nothing to garnish from this trend, right? You don't really know what's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to break up or break down. There's not enough data. There's no way we know what's going to happen with Polkadot in the short term. My theory, though, right, is that I like to have one coin that I focus on as well in a market cycle that literally has no prior pumps, right? Has not been in the cycle before. A lot of price discovery to come, and to find a coin that really could have a role to play. There's a lot of coins out there that are just completely nonsense, and I understand the flavor of the day coins that are coming out, and most of these coins that you guys put in the chat are just completely worthless, and maybe not by the strictest definition of being worthless, but within a couple years, a lot of them will probably be worthless. Maybe not a couple, maybe like a few more, but so I think Polkadot, again, it's one where I think that there's not enough data, but this seems like it could be a decent accumulation phase, right? I mean, if you look out over an entire market cycle, right, and we presume that it's going to take place over the next several years. Let's say the market cycle like goes out to 2023. Like, to me, this is just an accumulation phase, right? I mean, what else could it be? Maybe it could be the predecessor to a dump. I don't know, but it seems to me like it's an accumulation phase, and even if it does oscillate in here for a while, it still will be an accumulation phase, and then hopefully later on in the cycle, it will start to move up, and then we can say, well, you know what, we took the gamble and it paid off. Or if it doesn't, say, you know what, took the gamble, it didn't pay off. Well, it's a good thing. It was only a small percentage of my portfolio because I first focused on Bitcoin, then I focused on Ethereum, Chainlink, ADA, dot, Bella, dot, period. What other questions do you guys have? Remember, if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Remember, we do have the Telegram channel you can check out. Almost 7,000 members. We have 6,941. You want to help us get to 7,000 members? You can click on that link. I just put it in the chat below. Yeah, Monero is also one I've talked about, right? Someone just mentioned Monero. I've mentioned Monero. By the way, we talked about that Monero breakout against Bitcoin a few months ago and anticipated it. I don't actually know I haven't looked at it in the last couple days, which I guess a lot can change in a couple days. But back over here, we called for this breakout, and it did break out. It has retraced a little bit, but I mean, nothing goes up monotonically, and we'll see what continues to happen. There's always a good chance it turns around at some point and continues on up. So we called for it back in August, September. We saw the parabolic move. It has come back down. We'll see if that continues to go. I think Monero is it's a good privacy hedge, right? It's definitely a good potential hedge to have, and it gives you access. It gives you exposure to privacy, to like the privacy market if you want exposure to it. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Remember, I'll just remind you again, I don't have ads or anything, so I'll use this opportunity to just say, remember, if you want to check out the premium list, you can. You get access to weekly premium videos, reports, alerts channel, a risk dashboard, etc. You can pay with crypto and get a discount for up to 6 to 12 months. I think 12 months gives you like a 15% discount or something. So I think we've covered the major coins, right? So we covered Bitcoin, we covered Ethereum, we covered Link, we covered ADA, we even covered Polkadot, which we don't normally do because there's not a whole lot of data. And what is there to really say, right? Yeah, it's moving sideways. I know some people are getting excited about it moving from $4 to $4.70. Again, we're playing in the sandbox at this point. No, we're not. No one's getting out of bed for a few percentage point move, right? We're waiting. I think it's still in accumulation mode. Whether it's between $3, $5, accumulation mode for Polkadot. Chris says, what about DeFi as a whole? Yeah, I mean, DeFi, I think you can get exposure to DeFi. There's even some cryptocurrencies out there that kind of give you exposure to DeFi. I think DeFi is a good thing. I think some people are going to get burned by it because they're going to take out loans with it that they shouldn't take out and they would never get in traditional finance at the top of the bull market, and they're going to get wrecked. But it's their money. Let them do with it what they want. Or maybe it's not their money and they're spending more than they can afford to lose. But again, there's nothing you can really do about it. Like, hopefully people are responsible. But I do think DeFi is in general a good thing. I do think it's a good thing. And if you want to get exposure to DeFi, there's plenty of different ways you can do it. And one of the tokens we've spoken a little bit about on the channel actually is the Uniswap governance token, right? And again, this one I said back then, I was like, I have no clue where it's going to go. It could go way up, it could go way down. But rest assured that when Uniswap goes crazy again, The Uniswap governance token will probably also do pretty well. But again, I have no idea where it's going to go in the short term. Any targets for Ethereum this cycle? I have a lot of videos on Ethereum, so I would encourage you to check it out. I would say that I think that, you know, I mean, $10,000 sounds nice, but you know, there's a good chance it doesn't make it there. And if it does make it to $10,000, I'll probably already be out of the market by that point for the most part. Maybe I'll leave like, you know, a few ether on the side just to sell them at 10K on the chance to get there, just to say I sold ether at 10K. But for the most part, I'll be out of the market if, you know, well before that. I mean, if even if you could imagine like a several $1,000 ether, like it just kind of seems somewhat ridiculous, but we recognize that it is possible, and so we'll see what happens. I can't give you an exact number, right? I mean, maybe 5K, maybe 3K, maybe 7K. What's a few K among friends? I don't know. We'll follow it during the cycle, and I just follow the risk metric that I made for it, which by the way is on the premium list again. What percentage of my portfolio is taken up by XRP? 0.000 at the present time. It's completely zero. See, you see all these questions in the chat about XRP and Litecoin. I did a whole segment on it at the beginning of the video, and then I still get bombarded with XRP and Litecoin questions. I do not play Minecraft. I've never played it in my life. Someone says they can't join the premium list. If you're having technical difficulties, try a different browser. I know it works on mobile, but I have heard that some people have had issues signing up on like Brave browser. So just either try on mobile or a different browser, and it should work. You know, I'm somewhat tempted to just like look at some of these coins you guys are already like talking about in the chat just to see. Like, let me see. There's, I mean, I know you guys want me to talk about Ampleforth and Ocean and, yeah, VeChain, Hot, IOTA, Dogecoin, yeah. Um, I'll pull up the Uniswap token chart. I haven't looked at it in a while, so let's pull it up. Well, I mean, it's not a pretty trend so far. It's basically just been going down for the last several weeks. But also, what has also accompanied this movement? You know, Bitcoin was either going down or going up. Therefore, altcoin volatility I mean, altcoins are just not doing that well right now because they're not doing well. Uniswap probably isn't as crazy as it normally is, and it's just going to have less attention. So honestly, I'm not even surprised to see this. Until things start picking up in the altcoin market, I honestly don't expect this to change. Yeah, I'll pull up Doge. I know a lot of you guys like to talk about it, so we'll just pull it up for a brief minute. Mainly because it actually does have an interesting history, right? And I have mentioned this a few times before. If you can be very disciplined with this coin, it can actually be kind of interesting because the idea, right, is you just buy it here and you sell it like up here. And this is it. This is against Bitcoin. And if you just do that and you don't really care about what happens in between, right? You just recognize, okay, like I'm buying, I'm selling, and whatever happens in between, I really just don't care, and that's the idea. And so it has a pretty interesting pattern with respect to Bitcoin, right? And you can see we're kind of actually at the bottom of it right now. So I mean, maybe what's going to happen next is that, I don't really know. But what happens, right, is it tends to just move between these between this regime. But yeah, like I would not I do not take an investment in this coin seriously at all. If you have some money and you just want to play around with it, maybe you could, but you just have to recognize that it at the end of the day, like it's a meme, and and so that's what it is. But yeah, it's an interesting coin to look at, just the price trend, because it tends to just repeat that same pattern over and over and over again, right? The same pattern we just continue to see. We already looked at dot. What other questions do you guys have? Remember to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I don't think I'm going to make it, as I said in the last live stream, because I'm slightly behind schedule in terms of like daily subscribers. But if you want to help me get there, please subscribe to the channel and I'll see if I can make it there. I'm happy to have you join, Christopher, if you want to join the premium list. Thanks for following. I don't think my channel is going to hit 1 million subscribers. Someone says, what if your channel goes into a bubble and you hit 1 million? I don't think it's going to hit 1 million anytime soon, because my channel is more so focused on like quantitative trends and kind of boring data science, right? Stuff that a lot of people don't want to hear. It's not the catchy titles saying, 5 coins to make you a millionaire this year or anything like that. So when you're trying to compete for market share in terms of YouTube views, it's hard to compete with like those kind of clickbait thumbnails and stuff like that. So but I think if I can get to 100,000 subscribers, that'd be great. That'd be a great goal to get to. Someone asked me, what coins do you think are worthless that are in the top 25? I don't know if I want to answer that one on here. Someone asked if I have a long-term outlook on Bitcoin. I do have a video that talks about long-term, like 20 years off. I think generally speaking, like if this cycle peaks in say 2023 and then we have a couple year bear market, maybe the next one will peak in like 2031, 2032, and then maybe the following, and then that'll peak at a closer to 3 to 500K, and then maybe by 2040, 2042 we'll be at 1 million. That's my general timeline for Bitcoin. I could be completely wrong. I have no idea, but that's my general timeline. Jimmy says, how are my kids? They're doing great. I first got into Bitcoin in 2011. I didn't buy it in 2011. I don't want to give you that impression. I first started researching it in 2011 because I took a cryptography class, and naturally it led me to Bitcoin. Someone says, if we all make a lot of money, everyone should organize a party. Actually, I'm hopefully planning in like a few years to maybe do like a big meetup somewhere. But with the current pandemic, it's hard to do that. Someone asked me how the weather is here. It snowed a lot, actually. There's like a lot of snow outside. What did I do before Bitcoin? I still have a full-time job right now. I work in computational material science. So uh, I still do stuff besides Bitcoin. I don't play Minecraft. Sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to read the questions, but they just keep flooding through. It's hard to read them. I'm not doing a Minecraft server. Yeah, I don't know how to turn on slow mo. I think I have to do it before the stream starts. Looks like Bitcoin's back above 13.7. It'd be kind of nice to watch it go to 14K on stream, but I don't know if we're going to get that lucky. I don't know. I mean, the best portfolio division between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Link would probably at least be in that order. So more Bitcoin, less Ethereum, less Link, in terms of risk management, anyways. You guys think we'll make it to 14K today? Or let's say this week. Do you think we'll make it to 14K this week? Seems like some people think we're gonna hit 13.8. Other people think we're gonna hit 13.9. I mean, we're not that far from 13.8. Like we're literally just like, like a hiccup from 13.8. I mean, it just needs to go up like $62, or yeah, $72 from here. Not 60, $72, $73, something like that, from here, and we'll be at 13.8. I do not day trade. No. Should Bitcoin? I don't know what the question means. Someone says, should BCH be treated the same as Ethereum? I don't really understand that question. I don't talk about leverage trading on the channel, which is also why I don't post affiliate links to leverage trading, because um, it's just not, I feel like it's not very considerate. By the way, guys, I want to remind you, because we are getting close to 7,000 people in the Telegram chat. If you do join the Telegram chat and you post affiliate links, you will be banned. Just period, you will be banned. So please do not post referral links or anything like that. My contention here is that if I cannot post them on my own channel, I expect you not to post them. So if you start posting them, then that's it, right? There's no second chances on that kind of stuff. Just a fair warning, because I see it happen like every single day. Looks like Bitcoin's still hovering around 13.7. Make sure you subscribe. Let's see if we can get to 500 likes. Would I consider making a trading view tutorial video? I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, do you just mean uh, um, like how to plot moving averages? Like, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, I guess. Actually, I wonder, I haven't looked at this one indicator in a while. Let me back out. So this is the regression band. There's one, it's the I think it's this one. I don't really remember what I called it, but yeah. This one I think is interesting. Okay? And if you have a minute, I can explain what it is. It's just moving average division, right? Let's call it long division. It's just the 100-week moving average divided by the 200-week moving average, right? And recognizing that, the turnaround point was here, and it got squeezed in October of 2016, and that was after it turned around. You can see it kind of like it was at a minimum here, so like a local minimum, and it looks like it actually may be starting to go back up here. But again, we'll see if I'm not even sure if this is how accurate this is. I don't know if it actually includes the if it's messed up on it could be a programming error. I'm not sure how accurate that is. It could just be that the whole week's not averaged in yet or something. But we'll see when it actually does fully turn around and seeing these like macro shifts in the market. Bitcoin still at 13.7. Nothing really to see. Oh, thanks for getting to 500 likes. It hasn't happened that many times. I'm not sure why my Twitter is showing up here, but I do have Twitter, by the way, if you guys want to follow me. It's not into the Cryptoverse, it's just into Cryptoverse if you want to follow me on Twitter. Can I talk about what Bitcoin aims to do? I am looking at Bitcoin. It's at 13,728 and change. So we're still not at 13.8. And I don't know what I'm doing on a weekly time frame when we're looking at immediate price data. So here we are. Here's an hourly time frame. I'm feeling a little bit better, but I'm still pretty sick. We did look at Ethereum a lot, so I would encourage you to just go back to the beginning of the video. I don't think it was COVID. No, I just think it was a regular cold. I generally use hardware wallets. Do I think we're gonna have a pullback before the bull run? I mean, this is the bull run, right? I mean, it's possible that it's a short one like the one in 2019, but to some degree, this is at least a bull market. So, and there's plenty of pullbacks in bull markets. We had many pullbacks during the last bull market back to the 20-week moving average, which is why we always said, is why we talk about the 20 week. That was that being the key area to look out for, right? So all these 20 to 40% pullbacks to the 20 week moving average, right? Plenty of them in the market. So that one was not 50. I should take it from here. So that was like around 40% or so. So plenty of pullbacks. We'll have plenty of pullbacks this one too, even if we are in a bull market. Yeah, I as far as Bitcoin Cash, it's not a coin that I follow, and I just have no interest in following it. So, um, yeah, I'm not gonna really discuss that one on the channel. I have no idea what you should do if you should sell. I have no idea. I store my crypto in a hardware wallet. I mean, it to me it seems that our theory that Ethereum being again a good buy, as I mentioned earlier in December against Bitcoin, is potentially playing out. It's played out so far. We'll see if it continues to play out, because if it comes out of this uptrend here, which we've been in for like the last year, and we come into here and then maybe even capitulate or something, like that could be another timely December buy against of Ethereum against Bitcoin. I already talked about ADA, so I'm not going to talk about it again. Again, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I can tell you what I think might happen, but I could very well be wrong. There's no financial advice here. I'm just telling you my interpretation of the markets. Whether you should always investigate which coins you want to invest in yourself. I can't tell you whether you should sell or buy a specific coin, so you don't need to keep asking. Someone says I've been watching your coronavirus videos from earlier this year. If only you'd more back then. Yeah, I mean, I did put out a lot of videos back then saying it was a great buying opportunity, not in just crypto, but also in traditional markets too. In March, I put out a video that said the risk is extremely low right now and it's a great time, and it was. And here we are. You can't believe all the sensationalist YouTubers telling you that everything's going to crash, because every year there's going to be hundreds of YouTubers telling you that next year the market's going to crash, or this year the market's going to crash. But if you go back and look, most of them are wrong, and every once in a while one of them gets it right, and then they brag about it for the next 10 years. Okay? The sensationalist is just completely, I mean, it's BS, to be completely honest, as I've said before. And it's also rooted in recency bias. Martin says institutional money coming in may make your projections too conservative. Yeah, that's great, right? I mean, I feel like it's better to be conservative than to be liberal with your investments. Like if you think that Bitcoin's going to go to 1 million and you don't sell any, um, and then it goes to like 100K, and then you're left wishing you had sold some, that's a bad thing. If you think it's going to go to 100K and then you sell some of it, and then it goes to 150, you can sell some more, right? I think it's better to be conservative than to be than to be too optimistic. Just don't be too greedy. That's what gets most people is they just get too greedy, and they completely miss, they completely miss the top because they don't sell any of it and then they just watch it come back down. That's what you need to be careful about. That's why I talk a lot about dynamic DCA. You DCA your buys, but you also DCA your sells. So you sell certain amounts going up, and I sell more at each risk level. So if it when Bitcoin gets to one risk level, I would sell, say, like, let's just pretend I sell one Bitcoin. Then at the next risk level, if it goes up, I sell two. Then the next one, three, and then four, and then five. That way you're weighting more of the sells at the top. But if it crashes or corrects in the short term, at least you sold a little bit so that you can reinvest it down below, or you just put it into a different coin. This is my theory. That way you never let a good bubble go to waste. And yeah, maybe if you sell and then it goes up a couple $1,000s, you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't sold. But again, you didn't know what it was going to do, and you still kept some for that possibility anyways. This is the entire idea behind the channel, right? Come up with a plan, stick to it, don't get too greedy, just make some money in the market during the market cycle and then get out, and then revisit it when it cools off again. Someone says, when you take profits in 2023, potentially 2023, it could be before or later. What would I take it into? Yeah, probably stocks, real estate, maybe not so much real estate, but maybe some real estate, mutual funds. Um, yeah, maybe some cryptocurrency and just earn interest, right? There's plenty of ways you can earn interest. I've already spoken about my portfolio many times. I do earn interest. I've said that many times on the channel. You can do it through DeFi, you can do it through CeFi, so centralized finance, decentralized finance. There's plenty of ways you can earn interest. I do earn some interest on some of the platforms. Yes, I do. I do not put all of my crypto there because it's a risk, but I do earn some interest. I mean, we're almost there, right? We're almost at 13.8. We're at 13.740. It'd be interesting to see if it can make it to 14. I don't know. I mean, it's always hard to predict how high it can go when Bitcoin gets going. People always forget how dominant it can be when it moves, because when it stops moving, altcoins move, and it just, a lot of people get frustrated with Bitcoin's lack of movement. But when Bitcoin starts moving, it can really leave altcoins behind. This is why you should do whatever you want. This is why I will always hold most of my portfolio in Bitcoin. The risk metric it's just something I created. I don't actually tell you how I calculate it. I show like every other thing on the channel. It's like one thing I don't show. By the way, I'm just gonna go check to see what our I know it was around 14K, um, but I was just gonna quickly look to see what exactly we peaked at last time. I mean, I think it was like right around, you know, yeah, it was. I mean, it was basic. We're not too far away from it actually. Um, so last time, at least according to this wick and this exchange or whatever it's using, it depends on what exchange you use, but this one it looks like it peaked at around 13,826. So this was back in 2019. I think some exchanges it got closer. I mean, maybe it got to 14K, but on the BLX it shows 13,826, which is only about $100 higher than what we currently are. But yeah, I think there were some exchanges where it got closer to 14,000 than that. Like I think it was higher than 13,826 on some exchanges. So you guys think we'll break it? You think we'll go higher than like 13,826 or 13,880? Let's say. I mean, I feel like if let's say if we get to 13,9, then that will essentially clear the top of most of what most exchanges reach, right? I doubt there's many places that were above 13.9, but 13.8 definitely there was a lot between 13.8 and 13.9. What's crazy is that some people in crypto don't own Bitcoin. This is what I can't fathom. Yeah, I mean, I would love it for us to just go sideways for 2 or 3 months between 12 and 14K. I think this would be great, and then maybe in the first quarter we move up to closer to 14K, maybe or between 14 and 16. I would love it if that happened, um, but we'll see what happens. Remember, the quicker it goes up, the harder it will fall in the short term whenever it does fall. So it's better for it to go up slowly, at least until we get to the prior all-time high of 20K. Remember, this is our regression band. So we wanna slowly continue to move up to the prior all-time high. We're doing that rather quickly right now, but we've also done that before. I mean, we were at this level over a year ago as well. So just keep that in mind before you get too excited. It's possible we go to 20K in the next few months, but just remain level-headed because we were also at this level last year and we ended up coming all the way back down. Now this year is different. We're not quite as overbought as we were back over here, and we've been moving up a bit slower now than we were over here. So, but just recognize that if we do continue to come up, there's a good chance we're gonna retrace back down and then continue on our merry way. So just be cognizant of that possibility. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. The only reason that I feel like I've been optimistic about Bitcoin in the short term is that everyone keeps calling for a retracement. So usually the market gets it wrong. Um, but I mean, at some point, I do think it will retrace. But it is interesting just to see that sentiment, right? The sentiment change over time. And I feel like there's a good chance we retrace back down, but there's also a chance we don't. And back over here when we tested the 20 week, right? We tested the 20 week um, in back like back over here when we tested the 20 week moving average, we said, it would be somewhat poetic if this was the last time, right? So let me remove some of these really quick. And I'm trying to remember what was what's the 20 week on the 1 hour? I don't remember. I gotta look it up. Or I'll just do the math really quick. So 24 times 7. Wait, what are we looking at? Oh yeah, times 20. So 3360. So I'm gonna change this to 3360. And we'll hide everything else. So that's the 20-week moving average, but shown on the 1 hour time frame. Okay, and I said back here that it would be somewhat poetic if this was the last visit to below 10K, because it also corresponded to the 20-week moving average, which we have been saying is a key resistance point or key support line in a bull market for over a year. This has been our key area that we watch. And also, I thought it would be really nice because it leaves the people waiting for the CME gap at 9,600 waiting forever, and then they end up fueling the rally when they come in up here a lot higher. So, yeah, but we'll see. And right now we're pretty, we're pretty far above the 20-week. In fact, I mean, if we just take a measured move here, we are approximately 22%. I think it's more than that actually. I don't know. It's like 25%. I think above it if you measure it exactly to the price, which is like up here. I said back then, like, it's very risky to hold off buying Bitcoin because you think a daily CME gap has to fill, because we did not have these last market cycle. Yes, a lot of them filled in the accumulation phase in bear market. That's because of natural volatility. During a bull market, we don't know if they're going to fill, and I feel like it's kind of ridiculous to bet the family farm that it will fill. We said this back then, and I stand by it, and I will continue to stand by it. Even if we go back down and fill it, I will stand by that it's kind of ridiculous to assume that has to happen. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. Also, please give the video a thumbs up. We need 49 more people in the Telegram group to hit 7,000 members, so feel free to check it out. I just posted it in the chat if you guys want to check it out. So yeah, over here. So this is, so yeah, the 20-week moving average is 22% below where we currently are. So it's pretty far away. And I mean, it used to be back over here before that final drop, it was like 18%. I mean, if we measure it the other way, I mean, this is going to basically be about 20%, 22%, because it was around 22% above it. And here, yeah, it is like, I think it's like 28%. Yeah. But if you look at it like this, it's approximately 22.5% below it right now. So we still have a ways to go. I mean, we could drop significantly, and we would still be above the 20-week. By the way, if we were to go back to the 20-week, it would put us at around 10,600 or so. It depends on what exchange you use, but approximately 10.6 or something like that. Someone says, why does my analysis center on the 20-week? I mean, we've shown it before, right? You just look at the last cycle, and that was our bull market support, and we've noticed before that that's where the price goes to during corrections in a bull market, right? The 20-week moving average. You can see all of them right here going to the 20-week, and then when we fall below it, it means a bear market, or really bad in the short term. And again, here, you got the sense that when we were testing the 20-week, if we had gone below it, it would have been really bad. But we held it, and we've moved back up. And I said back then that if we hold it, sentiment can change on a dime, and we can move up really quickly. Someone says they shorted at 4K. Should they take the loss? Someone mentioned about the 21 week. We've also showed that as well, right? I have another indicator that I made that it just shows both of them. The 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. Here it is. Let me hide that. So yeah, I mean, you can. That's basically our bull market band, right here. This is the level we need to hold. Right now, it's actually, yeah. So on here, on the weekly time frame, it's calculating out the 20 week to be closer to 10,800 on the BLX. So, but I mean, the 20 week SMA and the 21 week EMA are essentially identical right now in terms of where they are. Epic, I've looked at Chainlink a lot during the cycle or during the video, so just go back and look at it. I actually did a whole segment on it where I pulled up the custom presentation that I made. And by the way, if Epic, I just posted 2 videos to my channel in the last few days on Chainlink, so go check those out. Yeah, hopefully, yeah, you're welcome. I hope you guys enjoy the Chainlink videos. I try to do an update on Chainlink every 2 or 3 weeks where I just like, talk about Chainlink a lot because it's like my number 3. So I think, it's pretty useful to do a 2 or 3 week update on it. By the way, if you care, it doesn't really mean that much, but the top of the regression band is at 14,863. On the bottom is at 6,856, which also corresponds to the, let me switch over to the weekly. The bottom also corresponds basically to where the 200-week moving average is. So you can see it right there. So the top is at 14,863 right now. The bottom's at 6,856. And the fair value of Bitcoin, for the first time since I've been making these videos, is now over 10,000. So according to this regression band, the fair value of Bitcoin is $10,095. So it would be nice if Bitcoin never went back down below 10,000 because it was simply waiting for the fair value to get to 10,000 first. Of course, it could go below it, so I might regret those words, but it is interesting to see that it is now, the fair value is now above $10,000. Nick says, what are your thoughts about the disappearing correlation between Bitcoin and traditional markets? Look, if you look at the long time frame, every Bitcoin bear market, as I've said before, has had a different correlation coefficient to traditional markets. During one, it was negatively correlated. During another one, it was positively correlated. And during another one, it was not correlated at all. The only main correlation they've had over the macro scale was the fact that they've both generally gone up. Like if you look at Bitcoin and the S&P over the last 10 years, they've both gone up. So if you look at the correlation coefficient between them, it's quite high. With that said, if you plot the price of Bitcoin against the US dollar or against the S&P 500, qualitatively they look the same because when something goes up like 10 million %, it doesn't matter whether you're measuring it against the US dollar or some asset that slowly appreciates, right? They qualitatively look the same. This year there was some correlation to the market that's undeniable, right? If the stock market was going up, Bitcoin was going up. If stocks are going down, Bitcoin was going down. But for the macro scale, I mean, looking at a lot of different key time frames, there's a lot of times where it has not been correlated. And I anticipate that it always, there's going to be plenty of times in the future where it's not going to be correlated. But again, I mean, as I said, like this year, there has been a pretty good correlation among stocks and Bitcoin. But there's plenty of times in the history where they have, not been correlated as well. Some people are talking about the 3,360 hour moving average. I just put this in on the hourly chart because the 3,360 hour moving average is the 20-week moving average. You just take 20 weeks, multiply it by 7 days, and then 24 hours in a day. Just a reminder to subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. And again, if you want access to the premium list, you can check it out at intothecryptoverse.com. You get access to the weekly premium videos, weekly reports, alerts channel, risk dashboard, and more. So check it out if you guys want access to that. Every week, by the way, the weekly report / video is like a new topic. So last week we actually covered, buying GBTC within the confines of an IRA. And so it changes week to week. Actually, the week before we talked about gold. So every week it's like a new topic. Robin says, if Ethereum is undervalued against Bitcoin and ADA is undervalued against Ethereum, isn't it best to just buy ADA? Not necessarily if you think Ethereum will outperform ADA in the short term. Not necessarily. But I mean, my contention is that I bought so much ADA back when it was 2 and 3 cents that it's hard to stomach purchasing too much of it now. I still think it's theoretically a good buying opportunity over the macro scale, but at the same time, like, so is Ethereum. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I feel like I'm more bullish on Ethereum in the short term if I had to pick one, but I do think that ADA will have, several decent runs this market cycle. Hastika Sun says, YouTube suggested me and they're enjoying the content. Glad you like it. Chris says, "What can you watch previous week stuff once you sign up to the premium list now?" Yes, you can. You get access to all the prior stuff. Jesus Gonzalez says, why do you say Bitcoin will be overvalued by 250% above the log regression band? Last market cycle was overvalued by 1,000%. Wouldn't it make sense if this market cycle it was a 500% overvaluation? So I do have a chart I can quickly show you. So the idea, right? If you actually look at this chart, let me maximize it for a second. So this is where I tend to lose people on the stream because I get too much into the data, but this is important. So if you look at this trend line, by the way, if you're not familiar with this, it's just taking the percent difference essentially from the price and the logarithmic regression line, which is a measure of the fair value. It's basically fitted to what I consider to be non-bubble data and gives you the fair value of Bitcoin. So then if you look at the times of overvaluation, right, so these major peaks come to these 3 points on this macro scale, downtrend in a sense, right? And so this first one, if you look at it, it was approximately like, I don't know, like let's say this is 1,000, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe around 6, somewhere between 5 and 6,000% overvalued. Let's say 6,000% overvalued. And then the next one was, so this is 1,000, so 2,000, 3,000. The next peak was 3,000% overvalued. So this one was 6,000% compared to the regression line. This one was 3,000% compared to the regression line. That's a division of 2. The next one was 1,000% overvalued. Okay, so 6,000, 3,000, 1,000. So, I mean, obviously the trend might not hold, but divided by 2, divided by 3, divided by 4, right? So 1,000% overvalued compared to the trend line. You project it out. 1,000 divided by 4 is 250. If you assume we peak in 2023, which is where I think we'll peak, it could easily be a 250% overvaluation, and we come up to the same trend line we've come up to for 3 separate times during each subsequent bull market. So 6,000% divided by 2, 3,000 divided by 3, 1,000 divided by 4, 250%. It is completely in line with diminishing returns, completely in line with lengthening cycles. That's why I think it'll be 250% overvalued. And what does that mean? Well, the fair value of Bitcoin in 2023 will probably, I mean, if we look here, so this is like $10,000, so $20,000, 30,000, depending on when it happens in 2023, it could be between $30,000 to $40,000. If it's overvalued by 250%, it puts it at around 100K, right? Plus or minus a few K. What's a few K among friends? That's the general theory, and that's why I came up with 250% overvaluation of Bitcoin by the peak of the next cycle. I hope that answered your question, Jesus. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. I hear people all the time say they like this channel and they don't like the sensationalist stuff and clickbait stuff on other channels. But if we want this channel to grow, just make sure you subscribe, and we'll try to get the word out that there's other ways you can analyze the markets than just posting clickbait titles and clickbait thumbnails for every video. Adam Ant Boy, thanks for the compliment. Someone says, so basically we're going to 100K plus this cycle. I think there's a great chance we go to 100K plus. I've always said I think where we're going to go is somewhere between 100 to 200, but probably closer to 100 than 200. If I had to put a bound on it, I would say between 100 to 140. But again, it could peak at 80, it could peak at 160. But if I had to guess, I would say somewhere between 100 to 140. B King says, are your live shows replayable? Yes, they are. Alright, someone says, so you think Chainlink goes to 1,000? I never said that. I said that if the exponential growth of Link Bitcoin continues, which it might not, the Link Bitcoin ratio, right? If that continues, which there's a good chance it won't, but if it does, right, then it could theoretically put Link at $1,000 if Bitcoin reaches $100,000, because if this continues, this exponential growth, because it's a logarithmic scale, this linear movement is exponential growth, if that continues for another 2.5 years, it could easily put the Link Bitcoin valuation at 0.01, and if Bitcoin's 100K, 0.01 times 100K is $1,000, and so therefore Link could be $1,000 if this trend continues. There's a good chance that it doesn't continue, and maybe we see more rapid growth early on, and then it starts to level off with time. So it still could go to a couple $100, a few $100. Doesn't necessarily need to go to 1,000. 1,000 would be if this trend continues this market cycle and we reach it in 2023. So, someone says, "What does hold up mean?" It just means hold up. Hold up a second. Like, and the reason why I said it, right? The reason why I said it was because we're comparing the peak valuation of Link Bitcoin potentially with not the peak of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin peaked in December of 2017, whereas the rest of the market peaked in like the first or second week of January. And by the time the rest of the market peaked, in terms of the total cryptocurrency market cap, Bitcoin was only at like 17,000. So it was about like 80 something percent, 87% or something of its prior all-time high. So if just because Link, like if Bitcoin does go to 100K and then Link Bitcoin ratio gets to 0.01, by the time this gets to 0.01, Bitcoin could actually have fallen back down to 80K. So that's a key example of how, like, okay, just because Bitcoin makes it to 100K and Link makes it to a valuation of 0.01 against Bitcoin, it doesn't necessarily mean that the valuation of Link will reach $1,000, because it depends on obviously what the price of Bitcoin is at the time that it reaches that valuation. That's what I mean. Edom says, "What do you think about the relative strength index?" We can pull it up. You can pull it up on, let's say, the daily time frame. So I'll hide a bunch of this. It's been a long time since I pulled this indicator up on the channel. I was actually looking at it earlier. So we'll just go to the public library and we'll do RSI. So we'll look at the relative strength index. So this is what it looks like. So you can see, where we are, right? If we back over here in 2019, we reached on the RSI, we reached almost 90. By the way, in general, if it's above 70, if you're, I don't really talk about the RSI that much because I tend to focus on my own analysis and my own indicators. But if you don't know what the RSI is, it's just the relative strength index. So it's essentially saying, if it's above 70, generally it's overbought, and if it's below 30, it's oversold. Okay, so you can see back in 2019 where we had these major moves, it reached 90, like almost 93 times. Over here during this move up to this accumulation region between like 8,600 and 10K, it reached approximately 80. Then when we went up to the next level, at the peak between 10 and 12K, it reached 85, and currently it's at 83. And if you look, each time it peaked, let me pull this back down. So if we just draw a line, like here, you can see like that is where it peaked, and then following it, it actually did have a pretty significant retracement, of 19%, and then this one here where it reached approximately that level, it came up to 12K and then retraced all the way back down to like 10.8 or something, so 10%. So we're getting pretty overheated right now. You can see we're pretty overheated. If we were to retrace 10% from here, it would put us at around $12,000. It doesn't mean, we can still push up higher. You can see back in 2019, we went up to a daily RSI of 90. Right now, the daily RSI is at 83. So that just gives you an idea of how overbought Bitcoin is in the short term. Yeah, you can use a risk metric to sell into altcoins as opposed to USD if you want to maintain exposure to the market. If you think we're early in the market cycle and there's a lot of upside for altcoins, you could sell to altcoins rather than to USD. I've already spoken about Chainlink a lot. There's no need to keep talking about it. We've mentioned it many times. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you like the content, and please give the video a thumbs up. We're at 717 likes. Let's see if maybe we could even get to close to 1,000. I've only reached 1,000 likes on a live stream 2 separate times, so it would be kind of cool if we reached it again. Yeah, I understand that people tune in at different times. Just maybe rewind. By the way, nice. If you are looking for link stuff, look at the last 2 videos I posted on my channel. Both of them are specifically on Chainlink. Both of them are almost 30 minutes long. So you have literally like an hour of Chainlink material on my channel at your disposal that I literally published within the last 48 hours. Yeah, we talked about Polkadot already. I think it's a good one for the cycle. We've looked at some fundamental stuff. We've looked at on-chain stuff. If you go to my channel and you just search on-chain, like on-chain, I think I have like 4 or 5 videos that talk about on-chain analysis for like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink. Someone says, can you please show us some exit plan in a bull market? This is what the premium list again does, right? It shows you how to dynamic DCA based on the risk metric out. And we recently did this with Chainlink. So you just I just sold it at very key levels on the way up. But again, you have to do what works best for you. What's the best free platform to look at charts with? I just make my own charts. I would say that's the best free platform because it gives you all the flexibility in the world. Just make your own charts. I mean, all these charts, all custom made. It's not like I just used a trading view to make them. This is not my full-time job. I work in computational material science. Yeah, some of the stuff I do is in Python. Not all of it, but a decent amount of it is in Python. My academic background is a bachelor's in math, a master's in nuclear engineering, and a PhD in nuclear engineering. Someone says, what does computational material science mean? It means computational models to predict how to basically predict how materials will behave without actually having to run experiments on them. It can help you figure out what experiments to run by figuring out on the computer which ones are more likely to be useful experiments. Lutchland says newsletters are underrated. Yeah, I did a poll on the premium list to see what people liked. It turns out that there's 6 things on the premium list. So there's the 3 things that are liked the most are the risk dashboard, the weekly premium videos, and the alerts channel. The 3 that scored the lowest were the private Telegram chat room, which I fully understand that, the newsletters, and the strategy dashboard. And the strategy dashboard is used for dynamically DCing like out of a market, basically. So Edom says he's so sick of seeing 13K. We haven't even been there that long, man. I think about it. This is where I would say hold up for a second here. I mean, we've only been at 13K for like a week. Avatar Play says, why don't you trade if you know that much? I do trade. Not really sure what you're talking about. Yeah, I've seen the there's a lot of guys that do it, the constant predictions that Bitcoin's about to crash, and then you look at their YouTube channel and like literally every single video has the word dump or crash in it. And this is over the last year, and then you look over the last year and Bitcoin has mostly gone up. And it's like, how can people, like, how can you make these videos, like, if you literally always call for it to crash, you're not calling for anything, because eventually it will correct and you'll take credit. But what about all those months and months you told people it was going to crash and it didn't? So be careful with sensationalist stuff like this, because all it is selling fear, and people like to tune in and see what, you know. And when fear sells, so people like to tune into fear. So be careful when you see people that only say that something's going to crash week over week over week, because if they're doing this, they're probably pushing some other narrative, or they're just doing it for the views. I'm not saying anyone specific, but I'm just saying there's plenty of YouTubers out there that constantly bet against Bitcoin, and in my experience, it is a very bad idea to constantly bet against Bitcoin. Oh, we're almost at 800 likes. Can we get past 800? Again, subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. I don't know if there's any popular channels that say it's always going to crash, but I get tons of people on my channel saying, you know, what about such and such channel where they say Bitcoin's going to crash this week? I mean, if someone calls for it to crash every week, then you have to ask why. Um, you know, is there like, and generally, if they're calling for it to crash every week, then they've generally been wrong for the entire year, except in March. But I mean, for the most part, if someone calls for it to crash week over week, they've mostly been wrong. and that's not my opinion. That's the fact. It was for Bitcoin. They've mostly been wrong this year if they call for it to crash every single week. But I'm not sure if any of the more popular YouTubers say that. I can't even think of any like specific ones, but I just know that I get these comments on YouTube and Telegram like all the time. People asking me, well, what about this other person who says it's going to crash? So I don't know. Drew says, at what point do you think alts will start moving? It's not a specific price point. It's we need to see Bitcoin going sideways and on weekly candles. We haven't seen weekly candles of sideways action. So until we see that, altcoins will probably not do that well. EL says, have you had any cases where you feel like you missed the boat on entering into a position on a coin? Well, I mean, any, it doesn't even necessarily be crypto. I mean, any stock or anything anywhere, you could always look at it and say, yeah, you like wish you had gotten some, but you can't look at it like that. You just have to, you go with what you go with. I mean, you make your picks and then you go with them, and you can't really look back because I mean, what's the point in doing so, right? Yeah, alts will suffer if Bitcoin continues moving up, especially against Bitcoin. I mean, whether they suffer against USD is another story, but they'll probably suffer against Bitcoin. Remember, if you guys do like the content, there's the premium list. You can check it out into thecryptoverse.com for the weekly reports and videos and alerts channels and risk dashboard. And we are almost at and you can pay with crypto for 12 months to get a 15% discount. We're getting close to 7,000 people in the Telegram group, so check it out if you want to be in before 7,000. I don't know that Bitcoin's going to be making a run to 14K on this live stream. We've been going for over 2 hours. I tend to cap the streams at around 2 hours so that I'm not going forever. And I think interest starts to wane anyways after 2 hours or so. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. We'll call it a day. Remember, if you guys like the content, please subscribe. Let's try to get to 50,000 subscribers by Christmas. I don't think it's going to happen based on the trend, but we'll see if we can make it. With Bitcoin moving up, it certainly makes it a possibility with new interest in the space. But I think we'll wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it was informative. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe, like, turn the alerts on. You know the drill. And I will see you next time. Bye.